our eyes are set towards the future and not towards the past.
Infosys will become the industry bellwether again by FY17, says CEO Vishal Sikka, but the company disappoints with its Q4 earnings. Revenues lag behind its peers as the stock tanked 6%.
A bonanza for Infosys shareholders. The company announces a 1:1 bonus. Dividend payout ratio increased to 50% post-tax effective from FY15. Also announces the acquisition of talent management company Calidus for $120 million.
The Bears are in total command on the Lal Street. Stocks see sharp cuts once again to cap a torrid week. The Sensex down 300 points. The Nifty has lost 3.5% for the week.
The FII match issue has been blown out of proportion. Government sources say total tax demand may not exceed 7,000 crore rupees. The Minister of State for Finance, Jayant Sinha, tells Parliament Centre has issued notices to 68 entities for 603 crore rupees where assessment is complete.
After cornering the government over the land bill, opposition parties target the constitutional amendment bill to facilitate the goods and services tax. The Congress, the TMC and the left parties stage a walkout. The bill is introduced, nevertheless, demand that the bill be sent to a select panel.
All we are saying is that when it comes to communication services, which are basic voice services, there must be the same rules.
Telecom companies unite against the over-the-top players like Skype, WhatsApp and Viber. Regulate those who provide voice services just like us, says Airtel CEO Gopal Vittal to the government. TRAI receives over 1 million emails from citizens asking for a free internet.
After Punjab and Maharashtra, the third BJP-ruled state, Rajasthan seeks higher support prices for wheat from the centre. Rajasthan's agriculture minister says 28 lakh farmers have been hit by the unseasonal rainfall in the state.
उसकी वजह से किसी की भी संवेदना को अगर ठेस पहुंची, मैं उसके लिए माफी मांगता हूं.
Arvind Kejriwal apologizes for continuing the AAP rally after farmer Gajendra Singh committed suicide at the venue. AAP leaders meet Singh's family and hand over compensation of 10 lakh rupees.
And on the hour, Samsung and Apple are gearing up for a battle royale in 2015. A special report from our Tech Toys team.
Dollar revenue has come in at 1491, so this is absolutely flat on a quarter-on-quarter basis, missing street expectations. 4.7% decline that the company has delivered. It's missed our expectations by about 65 odd crore.
TCS today, in terms of capability, in terms of people, talent, intellectual property, market positioning, is in a much better position to capture many of the opportunities that we couldn't have done several years ago.
We obviously can't predict the currency, but we need to make sure that the engine keeps delivering us a certain amount of growth.
We believe that in the next 3 years, our objective would be that we are going to be one of the biggest in the space.
When you look across the industry and everybody's results, you see the same thing repeating. Clients are increasingly demanding next generation services, more strategic value and things of this nature. And automation and dramatic productivity improvements are challenging the existing business in a very fundamental way. That is something that we cannot ignore.
Well, that is the report card for this quarter. All IT companies have disappointed with their Q4 earnings, and Infosys was no exception. But the company has announced an optimistic blueprint for FY17. CEO Vishal Sikka is hopeful that Infosys will become the bellwether once again in FY17. Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on India Business Hour. Hi, Nantara.
Hi, Shireen. Earnings, Matt Tussle, GST in limbo. Lots to talk about this Friday evening, which also happens to be Sachin Tendulkar's 42nd birthday.
So here's wishing Sachin Tendulkar, the Master Blaster, a very happy birthday from all of us here at CNBC TV 18. But let's get straight to the top story this evening, and that's the Infosys earnings. The company has disappointed the street with its Q4 earnings. Dollar revenue, profit, EBIT, all declining on a sequential basis and coming in lower than what the street was estimating. Dollar revenue lower by about 2.7%. The company has blamed cross-currency impact and the sluggish performance by the energy vertical for its Q4 performance. The stock, of course, took a beating in trade today and dropped about 6%. Here's the guidance now. The company has given out a guidance of 10 to 12% growth for this fiscal, which is ahead of expectations. And not just that, Vishal Sikka has made a statement of intent saying he wants Infosys to lead the industry in terms of growth by FY17. The company is all set to target $20 billion in revenues by 2020. Kritika joins us now with more from the Infosys top brass, including Vishal Sikka, to get us a sense of the quarter gone by and the plans for the future.
For the full year, you have guided for a fairly good set of growth, given the kind of outlook that we've been seeing in the last 1 year. And you also said, and I picked up on that in the con call, that FY17 will be the time when you will be able to reach industry-leading growth rate. What gives you that confidence to be able to reach industry-leading growth rates again by FY17, keeping in mind pricing pressure, keeping in mind volatility that you're seeing, evident volatility in your existing businesses?
Look, I mean, we do see volatility, obviously, but my sense is that the underlying fundamentals, the need for innovation, the need for real operational efficiency using the best available techniques is something that is a kind of a timeless thing. And so we do see tremendous need for that. So what we are doing is we are reshaping our own business along this renew and new direction that we have talked about, where we are taking all of our existing services, our traditional services, and transforming those using the power of automation, artificial intelligence, techniques like that, as well as bringing more and more operational efficiency into these. And we are starting to see the first results of that. And then in parallel to that transformation of the existing businesses, we are also bringing in completely new kinds of things that we never did before, like bringing this information platform for more complex next-generation big data problems, data science problems, AI work, the work on design thinking to help clients identify their next-generation problems and finding solutions to those. And those things tend to be much higher margin, higher value kinds of things. So the basic idea is to, on the one hand, become more competitive in the existing business, which is under pricing pressure, as you said, and to become more and more competitive, more and more differentiated there, and grow more there, bring more automation in to improve the margins, or to deal with the pricing pressure. And in parallel do these new kinds of things, which we never did before, which are next generation things. And our sense is that the combination of these two will help us get back to being the bellwether of the IT industry and to get to that aspirational growth that we have laid out.
Was currency the only area where you got hit, or were there pressures across the board with respect to pricing, with respect to telecom energy as well?
No, currency was known. I think everybody expected currency to impact our growth during the quarter, and that was already factored by us in the markets. I think in addition that we had pressures on certain verticals like energy vertical or the oil, because of the oil prices. We had pressures on some of the ramp downs that we had because of certain client issues. So I think overall, if you look at this quarter, even on sequential or even on a constant currency basis, we have seen a sequential decline, and that is the problem.
Praveen, attrition at 13.4%, significant. I think the quarter before Vishal came on board, you indicated 13 to 14 is your comfortable range. Going ahead, what are the other employee retention programs that you're looking at? And of course, now with wage hikes, would you be able to bring this down further?
I think this is where, I mean, as I said earlier, in this industry, given the dynamics and other things, this is where typically it ends up. You may see a little bit of spike in quarter one because traditionally we have people leaving for higher studies and so on. But I think we have come back to where we want to be. And we have taken several initiatives, and obviously these are not one-off initiatives. These are something we need to sustain. We continue to focus a lot more on employee engagement. We are focusing a lot more on skilling employees.
Are you going to set aside capital when it comes to merger and acquisitions, when it comes to, of course, even employee retention programs, restructuring programs? And can you break this up for us?
No, we don't have the breakup. As Rajiv said, so far we have increased the dividends and done the bonus, and that's basically it. We are looking for acquisitions. We have already done two, small but very nice, innovative companies that we believe are deeply aligned with our strategy. We'll continue to do things of this nature, and if something big comes along to acquire, you never say never to that again, and you never say never to other allocation strategies for capital.
Are you only focused on digital companies for acquisition, or would you look at traditional firms as well?
Well, if there is a traditional firm that really excites us, why not? But so far there is nothing. I mean, what we have seen recently and also in the announcements of other companies, I think you can clearly see that there is a very fundamental structural transition that is going on in the industry. There is a tremendous pricing pressure and so forth. So our eyes are set towards the future and not towards the past.
That's the Infosys top management in the quarter that's gone by. Plenty of misses, but the management also giving you a 5-year roadmap. Infosys providing a very optimistic long-term roadmap to become the bellwether by FY17, $20 billion revenue by 2020. Targets certainly very bullish. Rima Tendulkar now joining us to talk a little more about that guidance. Rima, what did you make of the guidance? How's the street reacted?
Thanks so much for that. Let's talk about the guidance that the company has given. FY16 constant currency guidance of 10 to 12%. This was the best case that the street was anticipating. This implies a quarterly growth of 3.1% by the company. Now, it seems on the higher side, given the current track record, but the reason the management sees this visibility and is confident because they're saying that we're already seeing the increasing role of automation that will play in the existing portfolio, especially post the acquisition of Panaya. They also maintain the aspiration to hit industry growth by FY17. They've also articulated a 5-year vision. So they've indicated that they want to hit $20 billion of revenues by 2020 from the current $8.7 billion. So how will they reach that? They say that this current $8.7 billion will be about $16.5 billion in 5 years. There will be another 10%, that's $2 billion, which will come through from new businesses, and about $1.5 billion from acquisition or from their M&A strategy. They've also indicated that they want margins, operating margins to be at 30% by the end of 5 years. Now, currently, it's at what, 25, 26%? So the way to do that will be improving productivity. So they want to improve employee productivity to about $80,000 from the current $52,500. So those are the key pointers from TCS about the way forward. Back to you.
Well, Infosys, Rima, I think you're getting confused with all the IT earnings that are out. So that's the strategic plan for 5 years. By 2020, Infosys hopes to turn in about $20 billion in revenues. Now, Infosys earnings did little to lift the sentiment on the Lal Street, where the bears are now in command. Markets saw some sharp cuts once again to cap what's been a pretty torrid week. The Nifty down 100 points, but it has managed to cling on to the 8,300 mark. The Sensex lost 300 points and it continues to drop towards the 27,000 mark. Mid-caps, though, saw deeper cuts in trade today, with the index losing almost 2%. For the week as well, it hasn't looked good for our markets. The Nifty has lost about 3.5% and the mid-caps have taken a beating, down by about 4.5%. But the government's tussle with foreign institutional investors over the minimum alternate tax has been blown out of proportion. That is the word coming in from top government sources. We've seen some rapid developments on this story over the last few hours. First, the Minister of State for Finance, Jayant Sinha, told Parliament that tax notices have been sent to 68 entities for 603 crore rupees. Now, government sources explained to us that figure. They say that the 68 entities are the cases where the assessment is complete, and hence that number of 603 crore rupees to Parliament. But of course, other show cause notices have yet not been replied to or are being assessed by the department, and that will then add to the figure. But they also point out that far from the 40,000 crore rupee rumoured liability or reported liability, which government sources claim the finance minister never corroborated, as was seen to be, they believe that the liability should not exceed 6,000 to 7,000 crore rupees. Sapna joins us now with the details. Sapna, many twists and turns. We now have clarity on how that 603 crore rupee figure has been arrived at, and we're also being told very clearly that the total liability should not exceed 6,000 to 7,000 crore rupees, and we may be seeing this figure on the higher side because about 70 to 80% of the cases where show cause notices have been sent can avail of treaty benefits.
Well, the numbers are changing, and how? Government has now clarified that 603 crores is in terms of the assessments which are already over, and there are a lot of pending assessments still remaining. So the overall number that they may actually look at in terms of raising demands would be around 6,000 to 7,000 crores. But this would also probably might have to be looked in the context of the the tax-free benefit, or rather treaty benefit that FPIs will now be availing. The CBDT has already issued a circular saying that such claims will have to be settled within a month of the FPI, kind of filing such a claim, 1 month from that time onwards. So it now remains to be seen whether the 6,000 to 7,000 crore demand mark will actually be reached. But definitely in terms of the 40,000 crore number that people were talking about earlier, this is a very, very realistic number the government is talking about. They've also indicated that the math issue regarding FPIs has been blown out of proportion. The numbers are actually showing that. And earlier on, there was actually no confirmed, the 40,000 crore number was not actually confirmed formally by the government so far. So the clear number would now be 6,000 to 7,000 crores. But as I just said, remains to be seen what impact the treaty shelter.
Absolutely, the treaty benefit is likely to bring that figure lower, Sapna. Thanks very much for joining us. Ashwin Parikh, Managing Partner of Ashwin Parikh Advisory Services, also joins us. Mr. Parikh, come in on this curious case of development. Our government sources tell us that the total liability as far as this FII MAT issue is concerned may not exceed 6,000 to 7,000 crore rupees. In fact, it may be lower because of majority of the cases may avail of the treaty benefits under the DTAs. Do you believe that this is a case which has been handled poorly from a communication standpoint?
Clearly. What seems to be happening is, all along, the FIIs have very clearly indicated that they are looking at investments in India, but they would expect a lot of clarity, and they would expect, clarity for long term to prevail. Any measure that suddenly comes up, and disturbs either the returns that they would have really, on the investment that they would have put up in India with the assumptions on taxation and various other assumptions, disturbs the whole thing. Now, we've been tossing the numbers. In the beginning, it was rumored that the total amount of tax that CBDT would be able to collect would be of a certain amount. You're talking about 40,000 crores. Now we are saying, and then 2 days ago, there was a clarification. And thanks for the clarification. It's just to remind people of what is already available as a right to them in terms of claiming DTA, basically. It was always there.
Absolutely.
There was absolutely nothing new to that clarification, except that we must thank the Ministry of Finance, to have at least pointed out to those who are entitled to
that. And I must point out here, Mr. Parikh, that on the 13th of April, in a conversation with us, the Revenue Secretary very clearly said that FPIs will have the window of the DTA relief if they are eligible. So, this is a story that we've, of course, been tracking very closely. But before I let you go, Jayant Sinha is saying that 603 crore rupees is the amount where the assessment, and that's what we're given to understand from our sources, that amount is on account of the assessments where the assessments are now complete. Of course, show cause notices pending assessment, we will probably see that figure move up. But do you think that this is now the end of the story as far as this big MAT tussle is concerned?
Well, no, not really, because now we will have to see what kind of show cause notices are issued, what kind of demand is raised by the department. Then I suppose we'll get a clear picture. So it may evolve, as and when the show cause notice and the demands are raised by the department.
Well, it is an evolving story, isn't it? Ashwin Parikh, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Many thanks for joining us with a quick reaction to the developments as far as the MAT FII issue is concerned. Now, after cornering the government on the land acquisition bill, the opposition parties today targeted the constitutional amendment bill to facilitate the goods and services tax. After wrangling for an hour over procedures, the bill was finally introduced in the Lok Sabha. And of course, you saw the opposition led by the Congress and the TMC staging a walkout, demanding that the GST bill be sent to a select committee. The finance minister tried to allay apprehensions in Parliament, saying the GST bill is a win-win for all.
There is any dip in revenue during the transient stage of any stage. For the first 5 years, we have undertaken as a central government to write it off. That is a part of the Constitution amendment itself. That is how these concerns of the states were taken into consideration. GST is going to lead to a win-win situation as far as the center and the states is concerned. It's going to up India's GDP. It is going to up India's revenues. And therefore, I commend the GST Constitution Amendment to the Honourable House for its approval.
December, the bill was introduced. Yes. And after discussion, nothing moved. Right. They could have referred to the standing committee. By now, it would have come. Right. In a democratic parliamentary practice, the standing committee will have to scrutinize it. And they have, as the present government as a practice, they don't want to scrutinize in the standing committee. They would just like to bulldoze it because they have a majority in the Lok Sabha. It's very bad.
Well, that's the Congress saying that the GST bill should be sent to a standing committee. Is this posturing, or is the GST bill really in trouble? I guess we will find out in a few days. Now, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has finally broken his silence on the farmer suicide issue, apologizing for continuing with his speech at the rally even after the entire situation had been brought to his notice. This after his decision to go ahead with the rally came under severe criticism from all quarters. Well, India is in the throes of an agricultural crisis. Unseasonal rains have battered farmers, and now with the Met Department predicting a below normal monsoon, life is only going to get tougher. Yesterday, we spoke with the Agriculture Minister of Maharashtra to get a sense of the situation in the state. Today, joining us is the Agriculture Minister of Rajasthan, Prabhulal Saini, the state from where the farmer Gajendra Singh, who committed suicide at the AAP rally, hails from. Mr. Saini, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. If I can ask you what the latest numbers are as far as the farmer suicides are concerned. Reports suggest that 3 suicides have taken place in the last 2 days, including in Alwar and Dausa. If you can also give us a sense of which regions of the state have been most affected by the unseasonal rainfall and the kind of distress you're seeing.
देखिए, राजस्थान के 31 जिलों में अभी डिजास्टर का नुकसान हुआ है, और यदि हम ये देखते हैं कि राजस्थान में आत्महत्या करने की प्रथा नहीं है, राजस्थान का किसान कभी भी आत्महत्या नहीं करता। कई वर्षों तक लगातार अकाल भी पड़ते हैं, ओलावृष्टि होती है, अतिवृष्टि होती है, लेकिन राजस्थान का किसान आन बान और शान का धनी है। वो दुनिया का पेट पालने का काम करता है, आत्महत्या हमारा किसान नहीं करता है। लेकिन पिछले दिनों जो घटनाएं हुई, भरतपुर में भी हुई और खासतौर से दौसा में, जिस प्रकार दिल्ली में आपके कार्यक्रम में जो गजेंद्र सिंह जी ने जिस प्रकार से सुसाइड हुआ है, ये काफी चिंताजनक है। हम लोग संवेदना भी व्यक्त करते हैं, लेकिन अभी इसके बारे में कुछ कहा जाना बड़ा मुश्किल है। ऐसे कौन से कारण थे जिनकी वजह से उनको ये सुसाइड का कदम उठाना पड़ा, उसका अभी क्राइम ब्यूरो पूरी जांच कर रहा है। जांच के बाद ही कुछ कहा जा सकता है कि इसके क्या कारण रहे होंगे। लेकिन मैं इतना ये कह सकता हूं कि गजेंद्र सिंह का परिवार दौसा के पास, बांदीकुई के पास में रहता है। वहां पर उनके परिजनों का ये कहना है कि हमारा परिवार खाता पीता परिवार है, हमारे परिवार में ये कोई कारण नहीं है कि हमारे नुकसान हुआ जिससे आत्महत्या हुई है। क्योंकि वहां पर नुकसान का आकलन यदि हम करते हैं तो लगभग 20 से 23% का ही नुकसान होना बताया जाता है। वहां पर ज्यादा कोई नुकसान नहीं होना बताया है उनके क्षेत्र में। इसलिए आत्महत्या किन कारणों में हुई, आपने तो मीडिया में देखा होगा किस स्टाइल से वो वहां पर गए हैं, वहां चढ़े हैं, किसने बुलाया है, ये घटना कैसे घटी है, इन सारे मामलों पे अभी कहा जाना जल्दबाजी है।
जी, आप कह रहे हैं कि अभी प्रीमैच्योर है कि किस वजह से सुसाइड कमिट किया गया है, लेकिन अगर आप बताएं कि क्या आपका विश्लेषण और आंकलन बता रहा है कि किस प्रकार की पीड़ा है, किस प्रकार की व्यापदा देखी जा रही है, फिलहाल किन क्षेत्रों में सबसे ज्यादा आपने मुश्किलें देखी है, क्या आपका विश्लेषण बता रहा है?
देखिए, राजस्थान में मैं ये कह सकता हूं कि इस वर्ष में ओलावृष्टि और अतिवृष्टि से किसानों को काफी नुकसान हुआ है। लगभग 11,700 से 35 ये लगभग ऐसे हमारे विलेजेज हैं जहां पर डिजास्टर के अंतर्गत ओलावृष्टि का नुकसान हुआ है। और यदि हम इसको और आगे देखते हैं तो लगभग 28 लाख से ज्यादा किसान इस ओलावृष्टि और अतिवृष्टि से प्रभावित हुए हैं। और यहां तक कि फसलों का जो खराबा हुआ, लगभग 24 लाख हेक्टेयर में फसलें हमारी तबाह हुई है। राजस्थान की माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने सबसे पहले आजादी के पहली बार संवेदनशीलता दिखाते हुए हम लोगों ने विधानसभा के सत्र को 2 दिन तक स्थगित करके सभी विधायकों को और सभी सांसदों को अपने अपने क्षेत्र में गश्त गिरदावरी के लिए हम लोगों ने भेजा, जो पिछली कई सरकारों ने अब तक ये काम नहीं किया। 15 दिन में हम लोगों ने गश्त गिरदावरी कराई और आप आश्चर्य करेंगे कि राजस्थान में लगभग 47 व्यक्ति ऐसे हैं जिनकी कैजुअलिटी हुई है, इसके दौरान उनकी मृत्यु हुई है। ऐसे परिवारों को तत्काल सहायता देने का काम हमारी सरकार ने किया है। हमने राजस्थान में जो पैकेज दिया गया है वो पैकेज में भी काफी बढ़ोतरी हुई है।
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि पैकेज में काफी बढ़ोतरी हुई है, आप कह रहे हैं कि 28 लाख फार्मर्स हैं जो कि इम्पैक्टेड हैं ये हेल स्टॉर्म और रेन को लेके। तो जो आपका मुनाफा, जो आपने कॉम्पनसेशन पैकेज दिया है, मुआवजा जो दिया है, उसका आंकलन अगर हम आपको पूछे तो क्या बताएंगे आप? किस प्रकार का कॉम्पनसेशन पैकेज दिया है? और दूसरा सवाल, उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे राज्य हैं, आपका स्टेट गवर्नमेंट रिपोर्ट्स के मुताबिक ये कह रहा है कि सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को रिलीफ देना चाहिए, 10,000 करोड़ रुपए तक का रिलीफ देना चाहिए। कितना आपने मांगा है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से मुआवजे के तौर पर?
देखिए, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को मैं मेरी तरफ से, सरकार की तरफ से हम धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे कि पहली बार राष्ट्रीय आपदा कोष का जो पैसा था उस पैसे में बढ़ोतरी की गई है। पहले 4,500 रुपए प्रति हेक्टेयर असिंचित क्षेत्र का मिलता था, उसको बढ़ाकर 6,800 रुपए किसानों को दिया गया। उसके अलावा सिंचित क्षेत्र में 9,000 रुपए दिए जाते थे, उसको बढ़ा के 13,500 रुपए दिए गए। जहां 12,000 रुपए डीजल से सिंचाई करने पे मिलता था, उसको बढ़ाकर भी 18,000 रुपए की सहायता राजस्थान के उस किसान को हम लोगों ने दी है। पहले 1 हेक्टेयर था, अब उसको 2 हेक्टेयर तक के सभी किसानों को, चाहे वो लघु हो, चाहे सीमांत कृषक हो, चाहे बड़े कृषक हो, सबको पैसे देने का काम सरकार ने किया है। यहां तक कि यदि बात करें तो 20,000 से ज्यादा मकान, जो कच्चे पक्के मकान थे, जो क्षतिग्रस्त हुए हैं, परमानेंट स्थायी रूप से नुकसान हुआ है, ऐसे मकानों को भी तत्काल हम लोगों ने 95,100 रुपए की सहायता प्रत्येक मकान के हिसाब से भी उन गरीब लोगों को उपलब्ध कराई गई है। इसलिए राजस्थान में किसान संतोष में है और उनको ये पता है कि इनपुट सब्सिडी जो देने का काम आपदा प्रबंधन करता है, उसको डेटा करके राजस्थान की सरकार ने और भारत सरकार ने किसानों तक पहुंचाने का काम किया है। अब तक यदि कल तक के आंकड़े की मैं बात करूं तो 700 करोड़ से ज्यादा
700 करोड़ का मुआवजा आप बता रहे हैं, ये आज तक के आंकड़े हैं जो कंपनसेशन का अमाउंट है। पर ऐसे कई रिपोर्ट्स भी आ रही हैं कि एक यूरिया की शॉर्टेज थी, ये महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट के इस माध्यम से भी हमने सुना है। महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट और अब पंजाब गवर्नमेंट ये भी कह रही है कि मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस जो है वो सेंटर को बढ़ा देनी चाहिए। आपकी क्या राय है मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस को लेकर?
एमएसपी का, चूंकि कृषि मूल्य लागत आयोग भारत सरकार है, जो भी समर्थन मूल्य का निर्धारण सभी राज्यों से मिलने वाले प्रस्ताव के आधार पे ये लोग डिसाइड वहां पर करते हैं। राजस्थान सरकार ने भी यहाँ की प्राकृतिक आपदाओं को देखते हुए, कम पानी को देखते हुए और खासतौर से जो सेमी एरिड और एरिड क्षेत्र के लोग हैं, वहां का उत्पादन को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम लोगों ने भी प्रस्ताव भारत सरकार को भिजवाया है कि जो एमएसपी का जो पैसा मिल रहा है, 1450 रुपए जो गेहूं का पैसा मिल रहा है या अन्य क्रॉप्स का पैसा मिल रहा है, वो बढ़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि आजकल कृषि का जो व्यवसाय है वो काफी महंगा हो चुका है, किसान को उसका लाभ नहीं मिल पा रहा है। इसलिए निश्चित रूप से हम लोगों ने भारत सरकार को भी प्रस्ताव भिजवाया है। निश्चित रूप से पूरे राजस्थान में एक बार फिर से समग्र रूप से हम लोग भारत सरकार के ध्यान में ये विषय लाएंगे, ताकि राजस्थान के किसान को समय पर एमएसपी की आवश्यकता पड़ती है या इंटरवेंशन ऑफ द मार्केट भी यदि हमको करना पड़ता है, तो राजस्थान की सरकार जो पेरिसेबल आइटम्स है, खासतौर से प्याज है, लहसुन है, ऐसे मामलों में भी हम लोग इंटरवेंशन करते हैं। इसलिए मैं समझता हूं कि सारी तैयारियां राजस्थान के माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने और सरकार ने हम लोगों ने पूरी की है।
जी, आप भी डिमांड कर रहे हैं कि एमएसपी में बढ़ोतरी होनी चाहिए। प्रभुलाल सैनी जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आज CNBC TV 18 से बात करने के लिए। द एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर ऑफ राजस्थान, they are taking us through the situation in the state. Meanwhile, RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan, speaking at an event, has cautioned against taking farmer suicides lightly. He added that the lack of formal financing is a bigger problem than excessive burden of informal financing.
In the last few days, we've seen the tragic picture of farmer suicides. As research has found, farmer suicides, like any other suicide, are very complicated matters. I mean, there's no easy explanation as to why somebody would take the ultimate step of killing themselves. And I think one should not neither take it lightly nor offer too easy an explanation. It needs to be studied. The studies that I have seen on these issues suggest a variety of factors come into play. And often when finance is involved, it is the lack of formal finance rather than the excessive burden of formal finance which is the problem. So can we move formal finance to every area of the country that we can find?
With that, it's a wrap. Have a great weekend.